There is something you do every single day that feels perfectly normal to you but would make a Japanese person quietly cringe. The strange part? Most Westerners have no idea they're doing anything wrong. In fact, the cleaner you think you are, the more likely you're guilty of at least 3 of these. Today, I'm counting down 10 everyday hygiene habits Japan considers genuinely unsanitary. And according to modern science, Japan has a point. That's right, 10, not the 7 you might have seen elsewhere. Stay with me, because number 4 is the hardest to accept, and number 1 will completely change how you think about being clean. Before we get into it, here's something worth understanding about why Japan approaches hygiene so differently. It isn't perfectionism and it isn't cultural fussiness. Japan has one of the lowest rates of hospital-acquired infection in the developed world and is consistently ranked among the top countries globally for public health outcomes. Researchers keep landing on the same explanation. It isn't the healthcare system alone. It's small, consistent, repeated, daily habits that prevent contamination before it ever becomes illness, which matters even more once we're past 50 and our immune systems don't bounce back quite as fast as they used to. Japan treats hygiene as prevention built into the ordinary texture of a day, not cleanup after the fact. Let's start with 10. 10. Washing raw chicken before cooking. Most Western home cooks consider this a sign of thoroughness, rinsing raw chicken under the tap before it hits the pan. It feels like a sensible precaution. Japan doesn't do this, for the opposite reason you'd expect. When water hits raw poultry, it doesn't just clean the surface, it splashes. Research has shown that washing chicken under a running tap can spray contaminated water up to 80 centimeters in every direction, covering counters, cutting boards, nearby utensils, the sink basin, sometimes even your hands and clothing, with Campylobacter and Salmonella, the 2 bacteria most responsible for poultry-related food poisoning. The heat of cooking kills every pathogen on the chicken itself. The washing doesn't. It just spreads the bacteria across everything within range before the cooking ever happens. The shift: don't wash it. Pat it dry with a paper towel if needed. Throw the towel away immediately, wash your hands, and cook it to the right internal temperature. The heat does what the water never could. That's 10. 9. Drying dishes with a shared cloth towel. After washing dishes, most Western kitchens finish the job with a cloth towel, wiping plates and glasses dry before they go back in the cupboard. It feels like the tidy, thorough final step. Here's the problem. A damp cloth towel, reused meal after meal, is one of the most contaminated objects in the average home. Studies on household hygiene have consistently ranked kitchen dish towels among the highest sources of bacterial contamination in the entire house, higher than the bathroom floor in many cases, because they stay damp, get touched by many hands, and rarely get washed as often as they should. Japan's approach is simpler. Dishes go straight from washing onto an open drying rack and air dry completely before they're put away. No cloth, no recontamination, no guesswork about how clean that towel actually is. The shift: swap the towel for a proper drying rack and wash any dish towels you do use in hot water every couple of days, not every couple of weeks. That's 9. 8. Wearing the same slippers everywhere in the house. If your home has house slippers at all, chances are you wear the same pair from the living room straight into the bathroom and back out again. It feels efficient. In Japan, it's considered one of the more obvious hygiene mistakes a household can make. Japanese homes commonly keep a separate pair of slippers just for the bathroom, left just inside the door and never worn anywhere else in the house. The bathroom floor, even a clean one, carries more contamination than the rest of your living space, and every step you take from that floor back into the hallway in the same slippers carries a little of it with you. The shift: keep one dedicated pair of slippers just for the bathroom and leave them at the door. It costs one more pair of slippers and changes nothing about your routine except which floor that contamination stays on. That's 8. 7. Storing your toothbrush out in the open bathroom. This one connects directly to the last one, and it happens every time you flush. In most Western bathrooms, the toilet and the sink are in the same small room, and your toothbrush sits out on the counter a few feet away, in range of everything a flush sends into the air. A flush produces what microbiologists call an aerosol plume, a fine mist of water and biological particles that rises from the bowl and stays suspended in the air for several minutes before settling on every surface nearby: the counter, the soap, the towel, your open toothbrush. High-resolution imaging studies have found that plume particles can reach the top of the toilet tank within 8 seconds of flushing and spread across the surrounding area within about a minute. Japan responds with 2 habits the West mostly hasn't picked up: closing the toilet lid before every flush, which research has shown cuts surrounding surface contamination by more than half, and keeping toothbrushes inside a cabinet, out of the room entirely when possible, rather than sitting out in the open. The shift: close the lid before you flush and move your toothbrush into a cabinet or at least a covered holder. 2 habits, 3 seconds each, and a lot less landing on the thing you put in your mouth. That's 7. 6. Blowing your nose loudly in public. In Japan, blowing your nose audibly at a restaurant table, in a meeting, or on public transit is considered one of the least acceptable things you can do in a shared space, and not for vague politeness reasons. It's about what's actually happening physically. Forceful nose blowing generates significant pressure inside your nasal passages. Research has measured it at roughly 100 times the pressure produced by a cough or sneeze. That pressure can push mucus into the sinus cavities, potentially driving an infection deeper into your respiratory system instead of clearing it out. Add in the aerosol that travels well beyond a tissue when the blow is forceful enough to be audible, and you've got a habit the West has never really questioned. Japan's alternative: quiet, controlled sniffling with a private, gentle blow when it's actually necessary. It isn't squeamishness. It's biology. The shift: next time you've got a cold, sniffle quietly and step away to blow, gently, in private. Your sinuses and the people at your table will thank you. That's 6. 5. Toughing out a cold without covering up. In much of the West, going about your day with a runny nose or a cough, maybe with a tissue in your pocket, is treated as normal, even admirable. Powering through is practically a compliment. In Japan, it's the opposite. If you're sick, you wear a simple surgical-style mask in public, not to protect yourself, but to protect everyone around you. This habit predates recent history by a century. It took hold in Japan after the 1918 flu pandemic and simply never went away. It's treated as basic courtesy, the same way covering a sneeze is treated in the West, just one step further. And for the people in your life over 50, where a minor cold can turn into something that lingers for weeks, this one habit, other people simply masking up when they're contagious, makes a real difference. The shift: if you're sick and have to be around others, especially anyone older or immunocompromised, wear a mask. It's a small inconvenience for you and a real courtesy for everyone breathing the same air. That's 5. 4. Washing your hands for about 6 seconds. Here's the one that's hardest to accept. You wash your hands, you consider them clean, and you move through your day touching your face, your food, your phone, with hands you believe are sanitary. The average hand washing duration in the West is about 6 seconds. Health authorities recommend a minimum of 20 seconds of active scrubbing to actually remove the bacteria and viruses most responsible for spreading illness, about the time it takes to hum a short song twice through. Research has found that only around 5% of people who wash their hands after using the bathroom do so for long enough and thoroughly enough to actually remove what needs removing, which means The vast majority of people who believe they have clean hands don't. Japan has taught a 6-step hand-washing method in schools since the 1980s. Palms together in a circular motion, the back of each hand scrubbed with the opposite palm, fingers interlaced and scrubbed between each one, the backs of the fingers against the opposite palm, each thumb rotated in the opposite hand and fingertips rotated against the palm to target the nail beds. The whole sequence takes 20 to 30 seconds, and it's taught early enough that it simply becomes how washing works. The shift. Tonight, actually count. Time your next hand wash and see what the real number is. Then add the two things it's probably missing, real time and your nail beds. That's 4. 3. Wearing outdoor shoes inside the house. This is the one that happens the moment you walk through your front door. The shoes that crossed a gas station floor, a public restroom, a parking lot, are the same shoes crossing your kitchen, your living room, the spot on the floor where a grandchild sits to play. Research has found that shoe soles carry hundreds of thousands of bacteria per square centimeter on average, including strains linked to urinary tract infections, wound infections, and respiratory illness, and that the vast majority transfers directly onto clean indoor flooring on first contact. Japan has a word for the entryway where shoes come off before anyone steps further in. Jinkan. A small physical boundary, sometimes just a single step down, that separates the outside world from the inside one. Long before anyone had confirmed it in a lab, it was simply understood that homes where shoes came off at the door stayed cleaner with less effort. The shift. A shoe rack by the door, a clear habit of taking shoes off before stepping into the living space, and a pair of indoor slippers waiting on the other side of that line. No renovation required. That's 3. 2. Washing your body in the same water you're sitting in. This one's going to feel personal, because most people consider the bath one of their cleanest habits. In a typical Western bath, you fill the tub, get in, and wash your body in that same water, which means the water carrying what you're washing off stays with you for the entire soak. In Japan, the order is reversed. You wash and rinse your entire body first, sitting on a small stool beside the tub with a handheld shower head, and only step into the bath once you're already clean. The bathwater, deep enough for a full soak, stays clean throughout, and in many households it's kept warm and shared by the next family member without draining, because it was never contaminated in the first place. Research on full-body immersion in genuinely clean, warm water links it to reduced cortisol, lower blood pressure, and better sleep. Benefits that depend on the water actually being clean to produce their full effect. A Western bath is a place to wash. A Japanese afuro is a place to restore. Different order, different experience. The shift, shower, and fully rinse before you fill the tub, then soak in water that's still clean when you get in. That's 2, just one left. And it's the one that's going to change how you think about being clean altogether. 1. Holding your phone against your face. All day. This isn't about the bathroom or the kitchen. It's about the object you touch more than almost anything else in your life. You touch your phone thousands of times a day, before you've washed your hands after the bathroom, while you cook, while you eat. You set it on restaurant tables, on public bathroom counters, on gym equipment. Then you pick it up and hold it directly against your face. Studies have found that a large share of phones carry trace fecal bacteria, and that the average phone carries several times more bacteria per square centimeter than a toilet seat. Held against your cheek on every call. Set beside your pillow every night. Japan's cultural habit of hand hygiene and general awareness of contaminated surfaces extends naturally to this. A consciousness about what's been touched and what hasn't been cleaned that most Western daily life simply doesn't build in. The shift. You can't sterilize your phone with every use, but you can wipe it down properly once a day, and you can stop holding it directly against your face, Speaker or headphones eliminate the most direct route from the dirtiest object you own to your skin. That's number 1. 10 habits. All of them normal. All of them standard. All of them so woven into daily life that questioning them sounds unreasonable until you see what they're actually doing. Shoes tracking hundreds of thousands of bacteria across your floors. A flush sending a plume across your toothbrush. Bath water that washes the body and what it's washing off. 6 seconds of hand washing that removes almost nothing. Chicken washing that sprays contamination across your kitchen. A dish towel doing more harm than good. The wrong slippers carrying the bathroom. Floor through your whole house. And a phone held against your face carrying more bacteria than your toilet seat. Japan didn't decide these habits were unsanitary because it's more sensitive than anywhere else. It looked closely at what they were actually doing and chose differently. The good news, all 10 have a better alternative and none of them require a renovation, a product, or anything you don't already have. Just a decision made once, repeated daily, which, if you've watched anything else on this channel, you already know is exactly how the Japanese approach to home and habit always works. Before you go, of these 10, which one genuinely surprised you? Not the one you already knew about, the one that landed differently than you expected. Tell me the number in the comments because naming it is the first step to actually changing it. And if this shifted how you think about your own routine, share it with someone in your life who considers themselves clean, but is probably guilty of at least 3 of these. They won't thank you immediately. They'll thank you eventually.